What's going on, Cloud Scholars? I'm your host, Kieran Tross. Thank you for coming back and visiting the page. If it's your first time, then I have a great video for you about Azure policies. Um, this video, I want to really walk through Azure policies. I want to kind of talk about, some of the different effects that you can have with Azure policies in terms of deny, and then also modify, and then audit, and things of that nature. For you who don't know about Azure policies, they're extremely important. They help you with the governance of your environment. Azure policies will really restrict certain resources from being created, or even go about, setting up security boundaries so that this way, you have multiple people in your organization working in Azure. If someone goes ahead and allows public access to a storage account, or someone goes ahead and doesn't put encryption on a specific VM, or they, you're really looking at Azure policies to be the eyes for you, and to make sure that things go well. So if you have a new CIO, a new CTO, or he or she comes in and they're gun ho about security, you're going to use Azure policies because they're the way to, make that person satisfied. You can think of Azure policies similar to GPOs, just that they're like GPOs in the cloud. If you don't know what GPOs are, it's group policy objects. And one of the things you can do with GPOs is, if you're in healthcare and you want to stay within HIPAA guidelines, you're saying, okay, after 5 minutes of inactivity, we're going to shut down, we're going to lock the screens of these PCs. So what I'm going to talk to you about is and go through is Azure policies. So let's go ahead. I feel like I talked enough. And one of the first things we're going to go into and we're going to see is within these policies is the overview. Now, the first one here is the default Azure policy. Do not worry about that. And the second one here is another policy that I created, and I'm going to get to that later on in this video. So we're going to come down here to definitions. And this is where you'll see your definitions. And this is your assignment. So these are the ones that are assigned right now. Right now we have 2 assigned. I'm going to create 2 additional ones, and then I'm going to come back to this one and show you exactly, what this one does. So let's go to definitions. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to one, and we're going to say we want a policy that we need to search for that's going to allow resource type. So let's go allow resource. And the great thing is, as you type, it fills it out. So there's 2 ways we go about this: not allow resource type or allow resource type. Let's go to allow resource type. Now within allow resource type, what you're going to see is within the definition, right? It's a JSON format. And what it does is, we have the display name, which is up here, same thing. It's a built-in policy type. You can also have custom ones, but that's, out of the realms of this video. And then you have description. It basically is telling you this policy enables you to specify the resource types that your organization can deploy. And then you have your parameters. So this parameters is a list of resource types allowed, and it's a type array. And then it says description and display name, strong type, so on and so forth. But we know that what the parameters is going to take in as an array. What you want to really concern yourself with is this policy rule. And what you'll notice within Azure is the policy types. JSONs always have this policy rule if. So it's basically an if statement saying if not, and then field type. It says in parameters, right? Remember, parameters is an array, and then it gets the list. So it puts an array there because it doesn't know exactly what you're going to choose. There's no way, right? It's not, Azure is not a fortune teller. So that array is there as a placeholder to say, okay, whatever you choose, I'm going to throw it in here, so that this way I can utilize that later on to make sure that I'm doing the governance that you are requesting from me. So it's the policy type if not, and in this allowed array, then effect deny. So if I say I'm only allowing storage accounts within this resource group, and I go ahead and I try to create another resource outside of storage accounts, it should get denied. So let's see what happens. So I'm going to go to assign, And first thing I need to do is go to scope. So the scope, you need to choose a subscription. If you have more than one subscription, you can choose those. The other subscription, I'm going with Cloud Scholars, only have one, and I'm going to go to RG Billing. So let's go to RG Billing and let's click Select. So now you see this is filled out. You can have the exclusions. We're not doing any exclusions. You could put a description. You could change the assignment name. It's totally up to you what you want to call it. So you're going to go to parameters, and now we need to say, okay, remember that parameters was an array. So basically what I choose here is what's going to drop into that parameter. So I'm going to go storage accounts, and you see that's checked off, and let's click next, and we get remediation. So what happens with Azure policies is that when you create an Azure policy, it's going to say, okay, from this moment on, anything else that falls within this policy, I'm going to make sure it gets modified, audited, replaced, so on and so forth, depending on the policy you choose. What remediation does is it goes through existing resources, can be updated via a remediation task after the policy is assigned. So it's going to go look at everything that's already within the resource group. So obviously, with this is a lab, so we don't have a lot of resources in it. But in your working environment, in the real world, you would have a resource, and if that crazy new CIO comes in or CTO comes in, you're gonna be using the remediation portion. So we don't need it for now, but I'm just letting you know exactly what it is. So then now we have non-compliant message. So right here we can put down and say only storage accounts are allowed. Stop it. Now in professional environment, I would put something that's much more professional, but I'm just doing that for this video. So we just go review and recreate, and let's go to create. So that's done. So we have that, and it's associated with RG billing. So let's come up here, and I'm going to go to public IP address, and I'm going to try and create a new public IP address within the RG billing. Now remember, the only resource type that was allowed in RG billing was supposed to be a storage account. So I'm going to say my new 278 whatever number here, and I'm going to go resource group RG billing. Doesn't matter to me. Availability zone, no. Doesn't really matter to me because at the end of the day, this should be denied. So let's see. So Azure's going through. Deployment's in progress. Let's see what happens. All right, deployment has failed. So if we click on the deployment failed, let's see what it says. Deployment failed, and right here it gives the name that we created, and then status is forbidden. So if I come here to deployment failed, click for details, it says resource, the name of the resource was disallowed by policy, and reasons, only storage accounts are allowed. Stop it. So we were able to successfully create a policy that limited uh, any other account, that any other resource being created within the RG billing that was outside of storage accounts. So that's good. So let's go back to policies, and we're going to go to and look for another definition. And hold up, let me not even move too fast. Let me go back to overview. And in overview, let's see what shows up. So we see allowed resource type, and we see that that's compliant. This is the default one, is non-compliant, and this one's compliant as well. Once again, I'm going to go through this configure storage account public access later on. So we see assignments, and we see all the assignments here. So what I want to do is real quick, I'm just going to delete this and show you how to delete it. You just click on it and you come here, delete assignment, and then you click yes, and we can delete that assignment. So that's going to delete. If I refresh it, let's see. Yep, it's already gone. Sometimes it takes a little while, like especially in the overview section. It will take a little while for it to really remove, but that's fine. We're not doing anything with that anymore. So now let's go to definitions, and let's go through this one more time, but let's do something a little different. What we're going to do now is we're going to go and we're going to look for virtual machine. Virtual machines, SKU. Nothing's coming up there. Did I type that wrong? Allowed virtual. Good. So we're looking up allow virtual machine size SKUs. So let's say you wanted to try to save money and you're like, listen, we don't need these skills, or you have the help desk or an engineer coming on and they're building, these VMs and these SKUs, and like, wait, our users don't need this much horsepower. So you can go and say, I'm only going to allow these SKUs. And when my guys go in or girls go into Azure and they go to make these changes or make another VM, they only have certain options that they can go through. So this is another JSON. And what happens is, I'm not going to go through this because this is pretty self-explanatory to what this is explaining in the description. But we're going back to this parameters. And you can see it's another array, right? So it's another array that it's going to take. And the policy rule, if we come down here, it says if all of field type equals virtual machines, not field type, and CSS parameters, whatever you check off is basically going to say that's going to fall into that array. And then the effect, which is important, the effect is what it will do, deny. So let's assign it. And we're going to go here, we're going to go scholars, and we're going to choose RG West. That's what we want to do. And we're going to select. And we're going to click on next, parameters. And now we say, okay, which one are we going to allow? So we're going to say, let's go to B4, B8, and B2. Cool. And we just have 3 checked off there. Remediation, we spoke about that before. And a non-compliant message. We only allow B series to be deployed for billing for this RG resource group. And click next. Let's click create. Good, that has been created. So we come here, we go to assignments, and we can see allow virtual machine size Q, and it's RG West US. So we're going to come up here, we're going to go up to virtual machine, we're going to click create Azure virtual machine, and we're going to go to RG West US. We're going to say virtual machine name is policy. Let's do scholars VM test. And we're going to say no infrastructure, security type standard. Let's do a Windows. Let's do Windows 11. Windows 11. And we're going to do size. See all sizes. We're going to drop. And let's see what it says. Well, look at that. Look at that. Okay, good. So we're going to do this one. Let's do this D3. Let's check on that and let's see what happens. It's not even giving me any option to check, right? So I'm going to keep clicking through and let's see what happens. If I do B4, it's giving me. If I do D2, B2, none of that's happening. It's not giving me anything. So let's see if this is really working for us, right? So I'm going to go back here and click select. And I'm going to come back up here and I'm going to change the resource group to RG East US. And I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to say see all sizes. And I'm going to go D4 and see I can still select it. So, okay, so let's go back. Let's see what happens if I go back to RG West and it takes it away. So now let me go back. So let me see standard D4. See, you get a message. We only allow B series to be deployed for this RG. It says policy details, and then it brings me here. So I won't be able to do anything with this because the policy is preventing that from happening. So if I come back to create virtual machine, this is not going to happen. So it says we only allow, it's not giving me anything. But if I go to B4, that error goes away. So we know that that policy is taking effect, so we don't even have to go through the rest of it. So let's go back to assignments, and we're going to come back here to allow virtual machine skills, and we're just going to delete the assignment. We know it works, so that's good. So remember in the beginning of this, we had two assignments here already, which was this one, the default one, and then we also had configure your storage account, public access. So let's see what this one does. So this one right here, it says we're 100% compliant, and we see the scope is Cloud Scala's West Region Storage. So let's go to view definition. So what is this supposed to do? So display name, as always, is up here. Description, it says anonymous public read access to containers and blobs in storage is convenient way to share data but might present security risk. To prevent data breaches caused by undesired anonymous access, Microsoft recommends preventing public access to a storage account unless your scenario requires it. Okay, so this is what it's trying to prevent. It's trying to stop from any public access so that this way you won't have any hackers coming in and modifying or taking your data. So parameters again is type string, and then it says display name effect. And then we go to allowed values. It says default value, which is modify. And remember, we're always reading it from here. Policy rule, if all of field type equals Microsoft storage accounts, any of all of, right? And it says field allowed public access, allowed blob public access is true. What it's going to do is the effect is going to make a modification, right? So it says it's going to say operation add or replace, and then it says value is false. So basically what this is saying is if it's true, it's now going to say nope, it's false, and it's going to remove that public access from that storage account. So what I want to show you as well is I'm going to go to Microsoft's page, and it literally talks about the different things that you can do with the policies. So here we are at Microsoft page, and it says understand Azure policy effects. So there's a bunch of different policy effects that you can look at. So there's append, there's audit if not exist, there's deny. The deny was what we saw with the two policies we created earlier, right? So if you try to create something, then it will deny it and you won't be able to go ahead with it. Then there's deploy if not exist and disable. So what I'm going to do is go here to deny, and you see it says deny is used to prevent resource request that does not match defined standards through a policy definition and fails the request. If I come up here now and I go to audit if not exist, it gives you the information. Audit if not exist enables auditing of resources related to the resource that matches the if condition but don't have the property specified in the details. So this doesn't stop you from doing anything. What this is going to do is just audit it. So let's go right back up, and now let's read what this one is, which is modify. Modify is used to add, update, or remove property or tags on a subscription or resource during creation or update. A common example is updating tags on resources such as a cost center. So what it's going to do is going to modify that attribute. If it says you're not supposed to have X and you put Y, it's going to go right back to X. So let's go back to the Azure portal. Okay, so what do we have here? So this one that we have is going to take effect, and it's supposed to be making those changes based on if you make anything with storage account. So the default value is modify, right? So it's going to modify whatever value that's allowed. So allowed value is modified, disabled. So let's go to assign. Well, actually, we already have it assigned, so excuse me. So let me come back out of here. And basically what this is going to do is configure storage account public access to be disallowed. So let's go to our storage account that we have that's in that resource group, West Region Storage. So here we are, and this is just a made up name. And if I click on this storage account and I come down here to settings and I go to configuration, this is the blob public access. Right now it's disabled. So if I were to click enabled on it, right, and I click on save, great. So now we see that allow public access is enabled. If I were to come and refresh this, See, it went back to disabled. If I go back and do it again, and I click on save, and I come out of it, and I come back in, it's now disabled. So what's going on here is this policy is modifying it. If you remember that Microsoft page, it said, and I'll go back to it, it says modify is used to add, update, or remove properties or tags on a subscription or resource during creation or update. So it's going to make the modification, and as you can see, that's what it did. Because this definition told it that the effect was going to be to modify the value, right? So this is when you read through these things, it says operation add or replace. It's basically letting you know, like, hey, listen, if the field allow public access exists is true, right? Field allow blob public access is true, then what it's going to do is field Microsoft storage account allow public access is going to be false. This can get a little, tricky with reading these after. You just got to keep doing it over and over so you can get a better understanding of how that goes. So this video is a long how-to video. I do apologize for that, but I wanted to really go into policies because there's such a great part of how you'll be able to manage your Azure environment. And I think it's very important that you really got to understand different ways of doing policies, and there's a ton of built-in policies within Azure. So if you found this video informative, if you have any questions, please put your comments in the comment section. Write to me. I'm more than happy to respond. If there's something that you didn't understand that you want me to go over again in the video, I am more than happy to send you a side note, or even create another video that can show something in more detail. Or even if you have a policy that you're trying to look into, you're not really sure how to set up, or you're doing a custom policy, I'm more than happy to do a video just explaining certain things, whatever you're requesting. So if you found this video informative, please smash that like and subscribe button. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this video. Here at Cloud Scholars, my goal is to get you from scholar to consultant and from consultant to expert. See you next time.